Today, we begin an investigation that could shake everything you believe about religion, history, and the true potential of humanity. You are about to embark on a journey through the deepest and most unsettling mysteries ever preserved in text. Imagine for a moment, civilizations separated by vast oceans, that never met, never exchanged a word. And yet, their most sacred texts share the same numbers, the same symbols, the same cosmic structures. Coincidence? Or something far more extraordinary? We are about to unravel one of the most fascinating enigmas in human history. We will expose conspiracies that have lasted for millennia. We will explore possibilities that challenge everything official science has taught us. And discover that sacred texts might be much more than spiritual guides, they could be manuals for lost technologies. Welcome, noble Templar travelers, get ready to question absolute truths. For decades, scholars have observed disturbing patterns among the sacred texts of the world. Patterns that challenge everything we know about the independent development of religions. What you're seeing here are some of the oldest and most revered texts in human history. At first glance, completely different belief systems. But when we begin to analyze their contents mathematically, we uncover something extraordinary. In the depths of the world's oldest libraries, millennia-old manuscripts hold secrets that go far beyond faith. Scribes from distant cultures, with no contact between them, recorded identical knowledge about astronomy, mathematics, and cosmology. The Hebrew Bible, written in the Middle East. The Hindu Vedas, composed in India. The Arabic Quran. Buddhist texts from Tibet. Each emerging from completely isolated traditions, and yet, all of them encode the same sacred numbers. 7, 12, 40, 72, 144. All describe identical celestial structures. All preserve a sacred geometry that echoes through the millennia. How can we explain this impossible uniformity? Some researchers suggest that there is something deeper at play here, something that our conventional religious interpretations have never revealed. What if these texts weren't just spiritual scriptures, but repositories of a much older knowledge? To truly understand this enigma, we must dive into the patterns that connect all these traditions. Patterns that form something the ancient initiates called the matrix of the scriptures. Matrix, a word we now associate with science fiction. But for the ancient scribes, it represented something much more real, an invisible structure that connected all sacred knowledge. A network of patterns that transcended cultures, languages, and continents. Look at these numbers: 7, 12, 40, 72, 144. At first glance, they seem random, but when we examine where they appear, we uncover something extraordinary. 7 days of creation. 7 chakras. 7 Islamic heavens. 12 tribes. 12 disciples. 12 signs in the Vedas. 40 days of Jesus in the desert. 40 years in the Exodus. 144 144,000 chosen ones in the Apocalypse. 144 points of intersection in the Metatron cube, representing cosmic perfection and the totality of creation. In the 19th century, the French mathematician Joseph Bertrand made a disturbing discovery. These numbers were not random choices by the scribes. Each one has specific mathematical properties that make them fundamental in describing natural and astronomical cycles. The number 72, for example, appears in various forms. In the mystical tradition of Kabbalah, the number 72 is associated with the 72 names of God. These names are derived from 3 verses in the book of Exodus and are considered extremely powerful. Although the exact number varies between 70 and 72 depending on the biblical version, in the Gospel of Luke 10 verses 1 to 24, Jesus sends 72 disciples to preach and heal during his mission. This group of disciples was chosen to spread teachings and healing across various cities. In Islam, the number 72 is also symbolic, associated with 72 angels. Some Islamic traditions mention 72 virgins in paradise. Astronomically, 72 years is the exact time it takes for a star to move 1 degree in the sky due to the phenomenon of the precession of the equinoxes. But the numbers are just the beginning. When we examine the narrative structures of these texts, we find something even more intriguing. They all describe the cosmos in the same way. The Bible describes 12 tribes arranged around the tabernacle. The Vedas describe 12 defies governing the months. The Quran mentions 12 spiritual successors, as recorded in the Hadith of Al-Kafi. All of these traditions are describing the movement of the earth through the 12 zodiac signs. The full precession cycle takes 26,000 years. Dividing by 12, we get 2,160 years, exactly the length of an astrological age. The ancients knew this cycle and encoded it as the ages of different avatars and prophets. For nearly 2,000 years, billions have found faith in the pages of the Bible. But how many have suspected that, beyond the parables, this book preserves one of the most sophisticated codes of the ancient world? What you're seeing is a copy of the Leningrad Codex, one of the oldest Hebrew biblical texts. When medieval rabbis analyzed these manuscripts mathematically, they discovered something extraordinary. In the Hebrew alphabet, each letter has a numerical value. This practice, Gematria, reveals that biblical scribes constructed complex mathematical equations. The name Jesus in Hebrew totals 322, a number that appears encoded in messianic prophecies of the Old Testament. In 1994, mathematician Eliyahu Rips discovered equidistant codes in the Torah, hidden messages found by skipping letters at specific intervals. Names of historical leaders, dates of events, scientific discoveries, all encoded more than 2,000 years ago. The Book of Enoch, removed in the 4th century, contains descriptions of advanced technologies and precise astronomical calendars. But perhaps the most disturbing discovery is this: several books were deliberately removed from the Bible. Why were these texts considered dangerous? If the Bible impresses with its codes, the Quran presents something even more intriguing, a mathematical precision that defies conventional explanations. In 1974, biochemist Rashad Khalifa discovered that the entire Quran is structured around the number 19. The opening phrase contains 19 Arabic letters. The Quran has 114 surahs, 6 times 19. Allah appears 2,698 times, 142 times 19. The 99 divine names in Islam correspond to the Kabbalistic emanations in Judaism. Sufism developed practices identical to the Hindu Vedas. Ibn Arabi described a cosmology that mirrors the Vedic texts perfectly. How can we explain such similarity? If the Quran impresses mathematically, the Vedas present something even more unsettling: descriptions of phenomena that science only understood in the 20th century. Robert Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb, when asked if the first nuclear explosion occurred in Alamogordo, replied, "Well, in modern times, yes." He was referring to the Bhagavad Gita: if the splendor of 1,000 suns were to burst in the sky, I am time, the great destroyer of worlds. The Rig Veda describes the universe as indivisible particles in motion, anticipating atomic theory by millennia. The Vedas describe Vimanas with technical specifications that echo aerospace technologies. The yugas align precisely with modern geological eras. The Torah reveals 72 names of God, combinations that, according to Kabbalah, alter physical reality. The Tripitaka describes techniques that activate specific areas of the brain. The Guru Granth Sahib follows Fibonacci proportions. The Avesta preserves a dualistic cosmology echoed in all subsequent traditions. These texts preserve knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, and psychology that their times supposedly didn't possess. Knowledge that suggests a much older and more sophisticated common source than we ever imagined. What we've discovered so far is just the tip of the iceberg. Impossible mathematical codes, advanced astronomical knowledge, lost techniques of consciousness. But this raises an even more disturbing question. If this knowledge was so valuable, why was it fragmented? Why were traditions that clearly share the same source presented as opposing systems? Why were entire texts removed and destroyed? But perhaps the most disturbing discovery is this: several books were deliberately removed from the Bible. Why were these texts considered dangerous? And we will investigate an even more extraordinary possibility: the existence of a primordial source that gave rise to all this knowledge. A lost civilization? Non-human intervention? Saint Jerome intentionally altered biblical translations. Religious councils destroyed thousands of texts. Secret orders preserved knowledge through hidden symbols. The history we've been taught might be completely wrong. If you're as intrigued as we are by what we've discovered today, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and click the bell to get notified when the next part comes out. The codes have been revealed. The patterns have been exposed. But the conspiracy behind them, that shocking story, you'll discover in the next investigation. See you on the next journey. Bye.